Pictures TV. And welcome back to Out of the Fog. Joining us now to discuss the issues and share their opinions on the district of Mount Pearl South is PC Paul Lane, Liberal Norm Snelgrove, and NDP John Riche.
All right, well, welcome to the show, gentlemen. Rather than bring up the podiums, we decided to do this as sort of a roundtable discussion. We thought that would work better. And really what we want to get into is have a roundtable discussion about the big issues in your district. Now, keeping that in mind, oftentimes when we hit elections, we hear about a disconnect between the people who actually get elected and the people they're supposed to represent. So just keep that idea in mind, and I'm going to start with you, Paul, and just tell us what you think the key issue for the people in your district is, and how you intend on solving it.
Well, City of Mount Pearl, quite honestly, is doing very well under this provincial government. I've been going door to door now for the last number of weeks. I haven't been hit with a whole huge lot of issues. Quite frankly, people are quite happy in the City of Mount Pearl. We're doing quite well as a result of the oil boom. While you do get some concerns here and there on various issues, I think people are very pleased with the provincial government and what the government has done in the City of Mount Pearl. We've seen more money over the last number of years put into road and infrastructure work, into recreational facilities than we've seen in our history, and people are very appreciative of that, and that's what I'm certainly getting at the doors.
Sure, thank you very much. Norm, I'm going to put the same question to you. The key issue that you think for the people in your district, and how you intend on solving it.
I think the key issue in the district is going to be Muskrat Falls. It's going to increase the province's debt substantially. It's going to decrease the province's ability to have infrastructure spending. As Paul said, people are happy with infrastructure spending. Now, as the province runs out of cash, because the cash is getting tied up elsewhere, there's not going to be the money to give out to the municipalities to keep the infrastructure where it is. And then you're going to have the increases. You're going to have increases in electricity rates. You're going to have increases in groceries. As the stores' electricity rates are going to double, they've got to pass that on to the consumer. And a lot of people, some got old age pensioners and seniors and people on fixed pensions living in Mount Pearl. And this is going to be quite a substantial blow to their income.
And John, same thing to you.
I didn't see the same things my friend Paul here has seen. I've been at many doors, done half the district. I've seen a lot of issues. One particular is seniors housing. On Lindbergh Crescent, for instance, I was walking down the door just doing my daily door knocks. A woman in the early part of August, it was really cold, I'm sure you can remember. She answered door in gloves, and she had on some, I'm sorry, I miss you, you're going out. And she said, no, I'm just so cold. I want to turn up the heat. I said, why can't you turn up the heat? And she said, well, I get $300 for a minimum fill-up at Harvey's, and I just can't afford to do it because I'm on a pension which is set. So I found that there's a lot of seniors who are worried about staying in their home because we have a lot of seniors in our district. Another issue I found too was schooling. Particularly in one area, we have a school that is built for 350 students. Is housing close to 750 students. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of people upset that this can just go on when there's a school less than a kilometer away which has 6 empty classrooms.
It's interesting actually to hear you talk about all of the key issues and how different they are. But one thing I didn't hear was amalgamation, and I just want to bring that up because it has been an issue over a number of years for citizens of Mount Pearl. And I'm just, when you look at Mount Pearl and how it's growing, and their need for land, and ultimately it's the province's decision, or they need to approve it. And I just want to know, what is your stance when it comes to the word amalgamation, and is it something that you would support? And Mr. Snelgrove, I'll direct that one to you.
Being a resident of Mount Pearl, amalgamation is not an issue for me at all. I don't want it. We don't need it. Mount Pearl does it better than St. John's. We've got better roads. We've got better infrastructure. We've got better services. We have lower tax rates. People who work for the city are phenomenal. They take pride in what they do, and it resonates throughout the community with the work that they do. And the only reason that St. John's wants amalgamation is they want to take our tax dollars, take them out of Mount Pearl, and fix the problems that they have elsewhere in St. John's. And when amalgamation happens, you would see a great decrease in the level of service and the level of infrastructure in the city of Mount Pearl, and it is a non-issue. It should never happen.
Okay, non-issue for you. How about yourself, Mr. Riche?
On this point, you're probably given a lot of agreement. As a Mount Pearl resident, we do not believe it's an issue. As a party, it's a non-issue. The history shows the GTA, Greater Toronto area, that hasn't worked. Halifax Regional Municipality, that hasn't worked. And once they amalgamate, the amalgamation is much rougher thing to do. It's a non-issue, and there's no reason for it. Dunman's is going to be in Mount Pearl, and I know Mayor Keefe would like to have the tax dollars, but that's that's going to stay in Mount Pearl.
Okay, a non-issue for you as well. Mr. Lane, how about yourself? What are your thoughts on amalgamation?
Well, and when you asked me the first question about the issues, that's why I didn't bring it up as an issue, because I believe it's a non-issue. The provincial government has a policy, has had it now for a number of years under the Progressive Conservative government, that there will be no forced amalgamation. The only time in Mount Pearl's history, quite frankly, when we've seen a situation where amalgamation was attempted to be shoved down our throats was during a Liberal administration with a Liberal member in Mount Pearl South. The people obviously stood up against that. It didn't happen, but we did see towards the end of that mandate that Southlands was taken from Mount Pearl, and for that, you know, I certainly have a big problem with it, and obviously I think most residents did.
We can move on to another question now. You know, a lot of things you hear about one of the main things you hear about from the NDP and the Liberal, we have all this money coming in from oil. And of course, you know, the PCs are a very pro-oil party for obvious reasons. But the NDP and the Liberals sometimes criticize them for putting too much of the province's surplus back into oil, you know, oil investments. So I'll put this question to you. How much of the province's surplus do you think should be put into oil investments? And John Riche, will start with you.
Well, it depends on what type of oil investments you're talking about. If you're talking about Parsons Pond, for instance, $30 million to drill holes that were dry, that's not the kind of investment we want to see. We would like to see in the NDP, we'd like to see the wealth shared a little bit more. Now, not to the level our opponents will have to say that we're going to be living in some kind of crazy egalitarian society. We're wiser. We would like to see the wealth shared so that people like the senior in Lindbergh Crescent, so she has a little bit of a chance to get her heat on, so she doesn't have to call Harvey's and say, you know, I can only afford 100, I'm sorry you can't have that fill up, you know, that's it. That's what we'd like to see the wealth shared a bit more.
Sure. Pauline, I'll put this over to you now. How much of the province's surplus do you think should be put back into sort of oil investments?
Well, you know, I have always believed in a balanced approach to government. I believe the Progressive Conservative government has as well. And yes, there has been some investment put back into oil exploration and development. I think it's very important that that occur. Anywhere where you've seen jurisdictions where there's been oil development, research, and drilling test wells and things of that nature have to take place, because once one well goes empty, we have to find others to tap into. So I think that is a very